everyone, One Big Boss here, and welcome back to another episode of The Rundown. Today, on episode 8, as you can tell, we are talking about the supposed rumors and talk of the Resident Evil series reboot. This is episode 8. Episode 7 was way back in, let's see, August, so I apologize for there not being one of these for a while. I had a few that I had worked on with a couple of friends, but my computer had lost all the files, so I was kind of bummed out and couldn't do another one for a while, because I put a lot of work into them. But as for right now, this is what we're talking about. Resident Evil, the reboot. It's a lot different than what people are thinking. You know, everyone's thinking, you know, what's it going to be like, the Devil May Cry reboot that Ninja Theory just did, or are they going to remake the game still? Because everybody was talking about doing the reboot of the series because it hasn't performed so well. Resident Evil 6's charts and everything, like what they got for the cash back, you know, their sales were not what they thought, and the executives even came out and said that they fucked up. They messed up the game severely, and they did. It wasn't that good of a game, and I played it. I thought a lot of the characters fit the standard Resident Evil character types that they've had in games past, and I thought it was great, but unfortunately it just didn't sell well. The only thing I play it for now is Mercenaries. But yeah, now you've got to figure, they talked about rebooting the series because they've pretty much lost everything at this point. The guy who created it is no longer with them. Pretty much anybody who's left with the projects, I mean, who's worked on them, has either left, or there's just some guys who've been mildly involved, and now they're taking over, they're sitting in the big chair now. So rebooting it may be the only thing to bring it back from the dead, because it was on life support with Resident Evil 5, and then 6 came out and it was no longer an option. 6 killed it. Now, personally, I don't think that they should reboot it right now. I think they should give it a chance and remake some of the older classics that made them the money in the first place. That's pretty much like my theory and a lot of other people's theory, because Capcom released a couple months ago of a signed petition. You know, people sign it, send it into Capcom, do it on the Facebooks or whatever, and Twitter and all that jazz, about getting enough signatures and enough feedback to buy Resident Evil, to remake Resident Evil 2, which is something fans have been asking for since it came out years ago. Well, not since it came out years ago. Technically, after the remake of the original on GameCube, people were blown away by it and were surprised that they didn't remake the second one for the GameCube, or for the PS2, or for the PS3 of that matter. And I was always wondering that myself, like why they never did. I mean, I know they were working on other projects and such, but they went off and had done like Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 5, and we know how well those, like 4 like was supposedly reinvented the series. It wasn't as scary as people made it out to be. I think I maybe got like spooked twice in that game over like small little things. It wasn't anything like the shock value you got from the first 3 games in Code Veronica. So the real question is, you know, should they do it? Personally, to me, I don't think so. They still have plenty of support from older fans like myself who played the series about 15, 16 years ago, that's when it all started. We'd like to see a second one remade like the first one. Personally, for me, I'd like to see 3, because 3 was my personal favorite. I played the ever-living shit out of that game for years. It still works on my original PlayStation copy. Still works. I have it for down here on the GameCube. I've got it for the Dreamcast over there actually as well. Yeah, I do. I have the Dreamcast version for that. But yeah, that's the one I'd like to see, because like new graphics, Nemesis coming back, you know, different ways to handle hit situations because you have more technology to do it. Because a lot of people think that the remake is better than the first. Now, I can't really choose between the two, because while it's the same game, it's also a remake, where it has the elements of the first one, but it's also like totally new. I think, like I read in a magazine years ago, it was about 40-50% new stuff thrown into the game, which you can tell where the new stuff was added into it. But both of them were amazing. If you're ever going to remake a game, look at what they did for the original, like, and brought it to the GameCube and how they did it. That was astonishing, how they did that. So 2 would be perfect to do it, because unfortunately, like with 2 right now, they've hoarded out all the characters for them. They've been hoarding out Leon since like Resident Evil 4. He's been in everything. The 2 CGI movies, you know, he's been there. They and especially how Resident Evil 6 was mainly focused on Ada as well, and her mystery and all that stuff. That's now it's time. It's like they like that those 2 characters. You know, everybody likes Claire. Throw those 2 in there, because I'll support that. I signed the petition and everything. I kept signing it and sending it in and everything like that. You know, and hoping that it would work. I think one of the official sites said something about how Capcom wasn't going to do it anymore. So the only way I see it working at this specific point right now is if Revelations, as you all know, was a 3DS title that came out last year. I think it was actually January of last year. It didn't do so well, but it brought back a lot of faith. It brought back a lot of the old players because of the touch of fear that it brought. The fear in gaming that we hadn't felt in years, since like pretty much Resident Evil 4 came out. And people loved it. And I liked it for its co-op. You know, I wasn't still a fan of the over-the-shoulder thing. I wanted the old-style arcade controls to come back. Wasn't going to happen. Wasn't going to happen for that. But that's okay. That's fine. But in the end, what I'd really like to know, you know, it's like, what happens? If Revelations doesn't sell well, what's going to happen to the series? What are they going to do with it? Because Revelations seems to be like their ace in the hole. Now, originally, when I first heard that there was a new Resident Evil game, I was like, great, it's going to come out for the PS3, it's going to be awesome. No, it's on the 3DS. It's the main reason why I got a 3DS. Now, I can go into a detail about why I think it's the greatest game for the 3DS, but pretty much, like, it's not a port or an HD, or, like, you know, or a slash, like, 3DS remake kind of thing, like Star Fox and Zelda, which were good games, don't get me wrong, and, you know, like the Mario games, too, but this game was designed for it. Now, like I said, it did well, it was okay for what it was, but it should have been on a console for us. Like how I always said, Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker on the PSP, greatest PSP game of all time, but it should have been on a system, and then it did. It got ported to the system, as you all know, in the HD collection right over here. So, if this game doesn't sell well, this is what's pretty much going to happen. They're going to either have to reboot the series like they did for Devil May Cry, or they're going to start remaking the old games. Now, if they're smart, which unfortunately, like me and a lot of other people, like in America and in Europe, and especially people down in South America, who I know a lot of people down there who follow my channel and me on DeviantArt and all that stuff. They're huge in the Resident Evil community. They are despised at what, like, they're sick to their stomachs about what Capcom has done to this series. So if this game doesn't sell well, which it probably won't sell too well, even with the new stuff that they've added to it, or they said that they've added to it already, you have to go by the numbers. You're either going to reboot the franchise or you're going to remake it. And like I've been saying, the smart thing to do is to remake the series with the characters that we all know already, because technically you can say they remade it with Umbrella Chronicles and Darkside Chronicles, which again, Umbrella Chronicles was good, people enjoyed it, people enjoyed Darkside Chronicles, but money-wise, Darkside Chronicles didn't sell like Capcom wanted it to. And so they, you know, they ported it to the, actually what's on the PlayStation Network. They didn't make a disc-based form for it. They put Umbrella Chronicles and Darkside Chronicles in HD, and unfortunately they didn't look that good in HD. Now that I look at it, a couple, you know, I still like playing it on the PS3 more than the Wii, but still. So beside the point. At the end of the day, what do you want more, the remake or the reboot? Everybody says that the remake of, like, the reboot of Devil May Cry is great and everything. I'm unfortunately not one of them. I would rather see Capcom remake the franchise, bring Leon and Claire back, as they always have, if it sells well enough, because the thing is, if you look at the boards, if Capcom would actually just go and look at all these Facebook forums, all the Twitter feeds, all the gaming forums about Resident Evil, they would see that nobody is saying don't make a remake of Resident Evil 2, leave it as is. People want to see it, because when you see the phenomenal job that they did with the original Resident Evil, transitioning that to the GameCube, pretty much rebuilding it almost, that was just a true masterpiece. And if they follow that formula again, they can do it. They can get the money that they want, and they can get the fans they want to come back. Because unfortunately, Capcom hasn't been in its fans' favor since probably about 2009 with everything they've been doing with their games, their overpriced DLC, whereas other companies like Tecmo and Koei for Dead or Alive, they give out free fighting stages, free outfits, and then the outfits afterwards are like $3, $4. I know Capcom's doing that now with a couple of their modes. They're charging only like $2 per the stages. You know, that's the right move to start doing with your DLC. Don't, like, we're already paying $60 for a game as is. So if you're telling me that you already have content that was supposed to be on the disc or is going to be on the disc, but you just couldn't make it already because you couldn't meet the deadline, which is what I feel that DLC is mostly at half the time, then you have no reason to charge extra money for that. That's not right. So in the end, like I've stated, what do you want to see more? Do you want to see the series get remade like they did with the GameCube version, or do you want to see a complete reboot like they did with Devil May Cry? As I said, it's the only real answer, because we're gonna find out shortly after the game is Revelations is released on the PS3, the Xbox, and the Wii U system as well. Because after that, they're gonna tally up the numbers, and you can bet that they're gonna say, you know, well, we're gonna do this at this point. Because I think there was a guy, I think his name was Kawada or something. He said that they want to make the game into like an open world. At least that's what he would want. That's not what they're planning, but that's what he would want to do with this series. Don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how you guys feel about that. Again, put it all down below. Blow off steam at Capcom down below, because I'd like to see... Because the thing is, as much as people like swearing and blowing up and stuff, they still have the right state of mind to knowing what they're talking about. They're just really angry, you know, and it's apparent in all the swear words that come down below in my videos. But yeah, like I said, just comment below, like the video, please subscribe. It all helps, and let me know what you guys think so I can keep doing stuff like this and keeping you informed, because, you know, every voice counts. Maybe not against Capcom, but it is heard, because, you know, fans are what make a gaming company, because they don't buy them. I mean, they're not making games and nobody's buying them, you know. That's the way companies go under. Capcom's such a big name, who knows what that'll ever happen. But yeah, like I said, well, the next couple months is surely going to be interesting to see what we're going to deal with. And I, for one, am looking forward to it. I don't know if I'm getting Revelations, but like I said, we just gotta wait for the numbers and hope for the best, I guess. Well, that's it right now. So, like I said, do everything below that you want. Hit us up on Facebook and on the Twitter. We got that too, because we're always checking them. Thanks, everyone. So, see y'all next time.